Y'all want to know the most frequently asked question I have received in the last 24 hours? How do I explain to my friends, and most of the messaging was around my black friends, African American, black American friends, that Charlie Kirk was not a racist? How do I prove to them that Charlie wasn't a racist? Now, if we were living in, let's say, September 9th, 2025, the day before Charlie Kirk was executed in public in front of his own children and wife, you probably wouldn't have to do much to prove this point. But yet, we're living in post September 10th, 2025, where all of a sudden there has been this massive campaign. Now, I don't know who's behind it. I want to believe that it is simply individuals acting at their own accord. But there has been, nonetheless, a movement of labeling Charlie as a racist and having his legacy as that of a racist. I mean, to the point where you've had media pundits comparing him to a leader of the Ku Klux Klan. Devious work. Now, I got time today, so I'm going to make sure to present any and all evidence necessary for you to actually be able to have a conversation with an individual who is willing to have the conversation. That's going to be key here. This is not going to apply to an individual who is so given over to their calloused heart, an individual who is so given over to their bitterness, their resentment, their victimhood, etc. This is going to do nothing for them. As a matter of fact, they will likely double down because this has been a convenient scapegoat for them. And so this is essentially why I want to start the conversation. Why is it that so many wokety woke black folk have adopted this idea of Charlie being a racist? Now, I broke this down in a short form piece of content on my TikTok, and what I expressed was this. Racism is oftentimes used as a means to demonize an individual to stop them from any further conversation. It is shaming language, right? When somebody automatically labels you as evil, as the bad guy, before you have any level of back and forth, it's as if there is no conversation necessary after that point. Anything you say is just simply a racist talking. And this is a tactic that is used by leftists in order to shut down conversation. They will use racism, sexism, homophobia, and any other ism of phobia that they can come up with, right? Islamophobia, etc., in order to shut down conversation. They have bastardized these words to the point where they damn near mean nothing at all. And so this is being used in the very same way. There's also another angle, and this is just human psychology of when you get to frame somebody as the bad guy, you no longer have to see them as human, which makes it easier for you not just to ignore, the heinous taking of a human being's life, but now you get to celebrate it. And now you get to virtue signal in your celebration of a man being slaughtered in public in front of his toddlers and his wife. So hear me once again. When you get to label that guy as a racist, a white supremacist, right? Damn near the KK and the other K. All of a sudden, he becomes less than human, dehumanized, and therefore you can essentially get away with any sort of rhetoric around this individual here. Now, the reality of who Charlie Kirk actually was and why he was so inflaming, why he was so triggering to Black America or liberal Black America, because, unfortunately, there's this idea that Black folks are a monolith, and that's not the case. But most folks have fallen into a monolithic sort of ideology, right? Onto that Democratic plantation, and they have never left since. But there are many Black folks who I'm actually going to bring into this conversation in a little bit who are going to express, the reality of who Charlie was. But as far as I'm concerned, what I realized about how triggering he was for the black community, or the liberal, wokety woke black folks, was because he told them the damn truth. Now, here's the thing. When you tell somebody the truth that does not want to hear the truth about themselves, whoever they may be, and whoever you may be, they will hate you for it. This example was set by the greatest example we have in life, period. Jesus was crucified for telling the truth to people who did not want to hear that truth. They did not want to deviate from their narrative. I'm not saying Charlie is Jesus, though he proclaimed the name of Christ. I'm saying that this was a man who said, you know what, Black America? If you stop making yourself the victim in every situation, if you allowed yourself to move past this, you can do great things. Life is on the other side of your bitterness, your envy, your resentment, your hatred. If you are able to move past this, you will live a life worth leading. That was his actual messaging. Now, if you get into the conversation of his ideas about reparations, it's the same exact conversation at the core. If you want to get into conversations about, Jim Crow, he addressed multitudes of times that this legislation that led to Jim Crow, these democratic policies, were wrong. As a matter of fact, he believes, and we're going to get to that in actual video form, he believed that we should look past skin color and instead look to character. Don't those sound like the words of a man by the name of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., another man who was assassinated for telling the truth. So the first video I want to start with is where the propaganda machine has started. There's this conversation around how Charlie did not believe in empathy. Therefore, why would he deserve our empathy? And so I want to go ahead and play this out. And again, we've got time today. I'm here for all of it. Now, if you don't have time, you can break this up into chunks. Take notes each time if necessary. But if you're here for the long haul, then we're here. So let me go ahead and bring this up for you guys. Video number 1.
I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term.
Guys.
Okay, so that clip right there is the clip that has been going mega viral. That clip. See, he doesn't believe in empathy. Now, here's how the mass media propaganda machine works, and always has worked. And we saw this in the hate campaign towards our current sitting president. Whether you love him or hate him or feel indifferent about him, they use this very same tactic of selective hearing, right? We're only willing to listen to what we want to hear, and we will use that for the sake of pushing a narrative about an individual, likely to assassinate their character. So when you had President Trump, there was the fine people hoax, right? Which was essentially DJT espousing that, there are many fine people. And what the news outlets did was take that in context of saying white supremacists, neo-Schmazis, etc. In reality, he actually denounced those people. The ones he was speaking to, referring as fine people, were anybody but those people. But it took you maybe watching 10 or 15 seconds more of that video in order to hear that part. Oh, there was also, the old Trump is a racist against not just black people, because they can't even find a single piece of, evidence of something he said there. So they just say, okay, what about the Hispanics? What about brown people? Look what he said about them. He said that they're sending over criminals and, R word is, etc. And then 4 years go by and another 4 years go by. And all of a sudden you find yourself in a place where, by golly, 15 or 20 million came through our border, and many of them, I didn't say most, but many of them were exactly what he stated. But instead the media said, well, he said all of them are. Right? This happened time and time again as far as taking sound bites, selective hearing, instead of the entire thing. So I just showed y'all right there, right? Empathy. Doesn't believe in it. Okay.
New age term.
Guys, I keep seeing this viral clip all over my socials. People have taken a very small portion of what Charlie said and they've twisted it to fit their agenda, to say that he's not compassionate. Here, let me put it into context for you.
New communication strategy is not to do what Bill Clinton used to do, where he would say, I feel your pain. Instead, it is to say you're actually not in pain. So let's just very short clip. Bill Clinton in the 1990s, it was all about empathy and sympathy. I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up new age term that does a lot of damage, but it is very effective when it comes to politics. Sympathy I prefer more than empathy. That's a separate topic for a different time.
You see, guys, context really matters here. Charlie says he doesn't like the term empathy and then immediately says he prefers the term sympathy. They only want you to hear that first part. You've got to listen to the whole thing.
Now, for those who hear that and are disturbed, well, why wouldn't he believe in empathy? First, I would say that's his perspective. Instead, he believes that sympathy and compassion are necessary in order to truly feel for our brothers and sisters. Because the reality is we can't always feel empathy, right? Empathy is I feel your pain because I get where you're coming from. And that actually creates a divisiveness if you really want to get into that. That's not what we're here for today, but since we're here, I'm going to go ahead and just break that down real quick. Empathy says I feel your pain, therefore I have to understand your pain. And much of the liberal leftist movement, the Marxist or neo-Marxist movement, has used that and said, the white man can't feel what you're feeling. You are suffering a pain that the white man will never understand. He is the oppressor. You are oppressed. Your pain is different, so you can only relate to the quote-unquote marginalized. Therefore, you only feel for those who look like you. You only feel for those who are a part of your quote-unquote in-group, which is something that Charlie did not believe in. Which is, yes, contrary to the Groypers of the world, contrary to the actual white supremacists of the world, turns out that he was anything other than that. So some folks would probably see him as soft, right, on that far, far right. Many people are saying he was the last of the moderates. So I use that to kind of set us up for the full stage that we're kind of setting here for y'all. Now, Charlie Kirk devoted his life to having discourse and dialogue with not just people who would agree with him, but mostly those who did not. His platform was a, prove me wrong sort of platform, change my mind sort of platform for anybody who wanted to have any sort of conversation. And there are hundreds of hours of conversations that are had. Discourse that is had, back and forth that is had. And so some of the points that have come up throughout this time are actually articulated by one of the individuals who asked me the question that has led me to this video here. Not going to give her name, obviously, but I will state the following. She asked me, hey, as a black man and someone who supports Charlie, I would really love to hear your perspective on some of the things he said that people are calling racist, saying the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. Now, again, going back into context matters. That is a lie. What Charlie Kirk said, and I remember this one like it was yesterday because it damn near was. What Charlie Kirk stated about the civil rights movement was the byproduct of pushing this essential race grievance that came as a byproduct. It wasn't about integration. As a matter of fact, Charlie happens to believe something, that many of the separatists in the black community ironically would be viewed as racist for if they were in a different skin. And so let's go ahead and get into that one.
Would you say that black-only dormitories is wrong?
It certainly creates a sense of community. See any
Are there differences between races?
No. Biologically.
Then why would we have different dormitories for races?
Culture.
Segregation is what you're arguing for, my friend.
No, sir.
How is it not segregation to have blacks in their own dorm? Ibram X. Kendi argues, who is one of the leading thinkers of critical theory, discrimination today to atone for discrimination of yesterday. We have black-only graduation ceremonies at Columbia University, black-only dormitories across the country, for example, at Western Washington University. Can you join me today in saying black-only dormitories are evil, wrong, and it's segregation? Would you support white-only dormitories?
But he has a choice.
So I think white-only and black-only anything is evil and wrong.
Booyah! So that discredits the entire premise of him seeing the civil rights movement or civil rights act as a quote-unquote mistake. Now, what he has said is something that I have stated on this channel a million times over, and I will a million times again. When the Democratic Party co-opted the entire movement, right? They used it for their own political benefit. When you had a President Lyndon Baines Johnson step into the mix and all of a sudden, coming from being a genuine white supremacist, a genuine racist who stood behind the acts of the KK and the other K, that man now becomes the face or figurehead of race grievance. And all of a sudden, with this change of heart, he starts to create all of these programs to benefit the quote unquote black community. In truth, what he did was he created legislation that would entrap black folks who use the government as a means of survival as opposed to their own God-given abilities. Black folks would rely on the Democratic plantation. Massa would take good care of them. And you ain't got to worry about nothing else. And you know what was pushed in the midst of that? Fatherless households. No daddy in the home. That was one of the key factors. Now, of course, we have to factor in, the second wave feminism, etc., into the fold as far as pushing that message. But if we just take fatherless households as one, which we can directly connect to Lyndon Baines Johnson's Democratic policies, that right there was indeed an outcome from the civil rights movement. It was co-opted and used, yet you go back a generation, not even a full generation back, and many black folks were thriving in America on their own merit, not relying on big daddy or sugar daddy government, as I like to say. That is a reality. Education, high standards that were set for black students led to black students in a time of Jim Crow to outperform their white counterparts across the country. Make sure to pick up a copy of Black Rednecks, White Liberals by Thomas Sowell. Might just learn something along the way. So, civil rights. He don't believe in civil rights. Cap. Comments made about a few black women like Michelle Obama saying that they probably didn't have the brain power to get where they are. Now, here's the thing, right? From the very beginning, I was not a fan of the DEI movement. It's not because I was some, sort of genius or I guess political savant per se, but it's because I saw how dangerous it was going to be when you put people into positions that aren't necessarily qualified. Here black folks go from having to be extremely qualified, right, in the context of Jim Crow, having to be competent, having to have merit lead, and having to be the most brilliant. You have the Ben Carsons of the world and the Clarence Thomases of the world created from that sort of mentality, that sort of system. Yet here we are today, and we have incompetence being celebrated. And yes, it is being celebrated. Yes, it is being pushed in our so-called educational institutions, or more specifically, indoctrination camps. Yes, that is happening right now in real time. So, Michelle Obama is one of these individuals who, I believe she was made out to be some sort of virtuoso. She's some sort of, some sort of genius in a sense. She wrote a book, Becoming. Brilliant, right? How many others have written books, black women, black men, but yet didn't have the correct perspective? They didn't have the right politics in order for them to be pushed into the mainstream in the same way. They didn't have the real life nepotism of their husband being the president of these United States. A man who I must say is actually merit based. Ironically enough, Obama is an impressive individual if you look at his complete resume. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that he was a great president. He was far from it, but he was a man who worked his ass off to get to a specific place in life, and he did that. So I won't take that away from him. But again, he's an example of the opposite of what is now being pushed by DEI, ironically enough. So again, if y'all want to be offended off of that, then I guess Michelle Obama is your, version of greatness. I would just tune into the podcast and verify that fact. So what we got next here? Saying black people commit more crimes and half the prisons are made up of black people. So yeah, he's brought this point up each time it was brought up to him, right? The lie that, well, there isn't a disproportionate amount of black folks in prison. And the statistics turns out say the complete opposite. Well, there isn't a disproportionate amount of black folks committing crimes. See, this is what happens when black people become so obsessed with their identity, or almost the most superficial part of the identity, which is your skin color, right? Not your humanity, or dare I even say, your connection to your creator. That's not your identity. Your color is going to be your identity, right? That's going to be the marker you go off. So you become this, as a man by the name of Jason Whitlock says, who I don't agree with on, many things, but I can still say this. Brilliant terminology. He says this is a racial idolatry, the worship of race. You hail at the throne of your race, and all that will not submit to your racial idolatry will be banished, and you wish death upon it, literally. And I'm going to get to some examples that I have been sent personally as DMs from these wokety woke black folks that are wishing my demise because of my perspectives. Sound familiar? I think so. So back to that question at hand. Black people committing a majority of the crime. See, I'm not exactly sure why there's still this. Why is there still this disconnect when it comes to the idea of per capita? I don't know what's up with that. I really don't get it. It's a very simple idea. It's that of, I guess, percentage based on ratio, right? How can I even simplify it more so? Okay. If you have 13%, or a population that is 13%, a demographic that is 13% of an overall population, and let's say that 300,000 violent crimes is coming from this group of 13%. Then you have another group who, let's say, is 50% of the population, and let's say 400 or 500,000 violent crimes are coming from that group. So 13%, they got 300,000, and our 50% has got 500,000. So according to per capita, which one is more? Which one per capita? By person, by percentage, essentially. Which one of those two has a disproportionate amount of violent crimes coming from that group? Now, here's the irony in just that right there, right? Is when you look at white on black violent crimes versus black on white violent crimes or serious crimes, there are still more by number that are black on white versus white on black. By number, not per capita even. So that is a disproportionate amount. Now, the conversation is then why? And that is the place that I feel terrifies many of these wokety woke black folks. Because now accountability comes into the conversation. And God forbid accountability be a thing, right? I want to continue to just do what I'm doing and pretend it's not happening. I want to continue to ignore what's happening in my backyard. You had mayors who are fighting the president who is trying to rid them of their own crime. because they want to hide their skeletons. You understand me? I really hope y'all are catching what I'm throwing on this one, because it gets deep. The psychology on this one is real, real deep. And we haven't even gotten to the spiritual realm as far as what's taking place there, where all things are birthed from, the unseen, in essence. So the per capita conversation, the crime conversation, is one that is offensive on the surface, because how dare you? What are you saying? Is it because my skin color, my race? And it's, well, no, it doesn't have to be that way. But unfortunately, black folk in America at scale have allowed for a culture that was once a subculture. You know, the Thomas Sowells of the world once called it a subculture. It is now a dominant culture. If you don't fit into the mainstream narrative of what it means to be quote unquote black, the hip hop rapification of blackness, then you are likely seen as an outsider. If you don't conform to democratic policies, to liberal ways of thinking and being, then you are seen as the outsider. You are the alternative. You are the quote unquote subculture. You're called white adjacent, or you act white, you talk white is still being used in this day and age. Can you believe that? In big 2025, as they say, big 2025, that's still the conversation that's being had. Interesting. So there is nothing but facts that are stated by Charlie every single time he had that conversation. Why are these facts offensive? Because the people who are holding on to the lie do not want to face themselves. Simple. Real simple stuff here. Let's see if she had another point here. I don't want people to twist what he actually said. So again, the most offensive things he said were always truth. This was never a man to say that white people are superior. He was not the Nick Fuenteses of the world. He wasn't anything close to that. That's why this also hit different. This was a man who had impact on black people's lives, and he did have and made way. And again, we're going to get into a video of some black folks giving the other side of this conversation. You know, the ones who are being called sellouts like myself, which I'm used to. You know, I sold out of my slave papers a long time ago. I sold into freedom. That's what I did. But this was never a man who said anything antagonistic about a group of people, only said the truth and then backed it up with the statistics and tried to tell you why and how to fix it. Imagine that. A doctor who not only tells you what the problem is, but also gives you a real life solution instead of a little fix and a remedy, or to pat you on the back and to make you feel good. He wanted to eradicate that thing. And instead, you called those people the racists. You called those people the white supremacists. You called those people the sellouts, the ones who want to help you in your own sickness. But again, am I surprised when you have Yeshua, the Christ himself, being turned away, being executed for trying to wake people up to their own darkness? Can we be surprised? So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing rolling for us. Let's see. Make sure my mic is micing. Okay. Like I told y'all, we've got real life time today. And things have changed now. We're not skirting on the surface of anything. All right. Yeah, we got about 3 and some odd minutes. I gave just a few of these individuals a little bit of time, and we'll check in with each of them as necessary.
Anybody, especially black people, that are saying Charlie Kirk was racist and was not for black people and did not know black people, I am 100% convinced that you have never sat through a full debate of his.
Facts.
Or watched any of his debates with a sound understanding. Black people are always so quick to want to be the victim of a situation that they can't thrive. And this is one of the things that Charlie Kirk was exposing to black people. We have such a cap on us because we think we're limited because we're black, or because we're women, and because we think our ancestors, whatever they went through, is still impacting us today. But we are not there anymore. Charlie Kirk wasn't saying that we didn't need, or black problems didn't matter. He was saying, hey, you're not a slave anymore, and there are no more laws that are holding you back, saying that you can't do what a white person can do.
Now, that woman obviously brings up many excellent points, but the most poignant for me was y'all actually haven't watched. And you don't care to watch. You don't care to hear what he actually said. Instead, you want to go with the narrative that's going to make you feel the most accepted in your in-group, likely. Now, again, it confuses and perplexes a lot of y'all as to how somebody with my skin color could happen to not believe in the very same shucking and jiving that's taking place on that Democratic plantation. But guess what? I don't. Because by the grace of my Creator, I was woken up from that mess. I woke up and realized, you know what? I am causing my own problems in life. Maybe it's not my ancestors' trials and tribulations that is the reason why I'm behind on my bills. That's the reason why I'm not where I want to be in life, why my relationships aren't working out. Maybe, just maybe, I have a little bit of something to do with this, you know? Maybe if I stop scapegoating the white man, then we could get somewhere. But now the difficulty is untethering yourself from that crowd, from the pool of the mob. It is powerful, folks. And so long as people's opinions are your God, then forget about it. You're going to bow to their will. So, did they actually watch the man? Absolutely not. If they did, well, first and foremost, they would probably wake up, or I guess some of them would technically be exactly where they are now, which is to celebrate the man's demise, because demons celebrate the demise of the righteous man. So I guess technically some can still be here. But otherwise, most who have a thread of common sense in them and have even the slightest, I'm talking about just one little peekaboo window to wake up, would wake up. And that's why we have black folks like this.
Y'all brain is scrambled eggs and mashed potatoes, fool. It's no way y'all believe this man was truly racist. How is somebody racist for saying that you should be judged of the content of your character, not the color of your skin? Like MLK did. You remember what MLK said? Like what, bro? He wanted you to have merit. He let us know that there was nothing holding us back from doing whatever the white man could. Like, bro, I literally do not see how y'all feel like there's something in America that the white man can do that y'all can't do. You can do anything in this world that you want to do, bro. Don't let your people tell you that you can't, bro.
Correction. They are not our people, sir. Our people are the ones that we resonate with at a soul level. We've been tricked and bamboozled into this racial idolatry. We've been bamboozled into believing that the skin color is the end all be all. No. You're not my brother because of your skin. If we share the same skin and we resonate at a spiritual level, at a soul level, because you are upright, you are a man, a woman of integrity, etc., you're my people. Otherwise, I can't resonate with you. I don't know what, we can't do anything for each other.
You need to do is have hard work, dedication, and some grit, bro. That's all you need to be successful in this world, bro. Discipline, respect, be good to people, bro. You'll be good, bro. I promise you, bro. There are absolutely zero laws in place preventing a black man from doing anything that a white man could.
And there that message is again. It popped up in the first video, now in the second one. Which laws? Because that was one of the statements that would be made by a lot of these, kids and their college campus. Well, they're college students, right? So they're on college campuses. That's likely their university that they're speaking at. Here you are in a multi-billion-dollar institution having the luxury of the first world, the Western world that allows you to have this opportunity, and you're crying victim at the same damn time. Make it make sense. Maybe I'm the thick one. Maybe I'm a little slow, but make that make sense for me. How are you attending a multi-billion-dollar institution and still crying victim? The black man, the black woman can't do nothing because of the white man or the white woman. You have been given every single advantage at this point in human history, and still you cry victim. That is what is holding you back. It is not the system of white supremacy. It is the system of your beliefs, my friend. So let us continue. Let's get into the more political arena for a second.
Give Charlie some credit here, okay? Back in 2019, Charlie Kirk helped a lot of young blacks get to the White House. He changed a lot of their lives. A lot of them never imagined going to the White House, and Charlie helped hundreds of young black boys and girls go to the White House. Charlie, thank you for that.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, man.
So for people who want to call Charlie a racist,
That boy was tall, wasn't he? Wow.
kiss my black ass. Excuse my language. Charlie Kirk is not a racist.
I love this guy. I'll tell you. And, by the way, I have some New York Times reporters for you to talk to.
I'll talk to them.
No, yeah.
Charlie Kirk sent me a direct message, and I'm going to show you what it said. This is almost 6 years ago exactly now, as of this video. I had not spoken to him in person or on social media. He started the conversation. You know what he said? 3 words. You are terrific. Now bear in mind, this is back before I was blessed with the followership I have now. I had fewer than 10,000 followers on Instagram, very small Facebook presence, wasn't even on TikTok at the time. But the fact of the matter is, this young man, this leader of Turning Point USA, reached out to me and saw something I had done. And he felt so moved that he reached out to me himself to encourage me. And then he went a step further. He invited me to the BLS, which is the Black Leadership Summit Turning Point USA was putting on in Washington, D.C. I told him, transparently, I was in between jobs and didn't have the money to fund my trip. He told me that they had scholarships available and to email him directly and he'd be able to take care of it. I did, and that's the story of how I got to be a part of the Young Black Leadership Summit, which was instrumental in springboarding me to where I am today.
While these liberals burn down cities, talking about Black Lives Matter, this man was actually helping to improve, at the very least, the potential for Black lives. You can't push somebody to the finish line of anything, but you can at least create opportunity. And he did that for countless people of all colors, of both genders, because there's two of them. That was him. That was Charlie. Charlie was the best of us. He really was. And for those, this is just maybe a sideline comment, for those who thought that he was the far right, he was the white supremacist, Lord have mercy on your existence. What you are about to encounter, what is left now, is not going to sit there and coddle you like he oftentimes had to. We're about to tell your nig-nog behinds exactly what is going on here. You are brainwashed. You are overtaken by evil. You are an agent of chaos. Y'all want to see these messages that I receive? Look at these sweet messages. Look how these people are proving themselves right to the actual white supremacists who believe that they have, Neanderthal or monkey brains. I was saying Neanderthal. That's a Freudian slip. Those who believe them to have baboon brain. Look at this. This man said, you're, not even you are, right? Just a great start there. You're a clown N-word with a hard R. This already sounding, white supremacist is what Charlie was. Then what are you over here, Mr. Gucci? Go talk about how many blacks, KK, unalived. I'm sorry I have to say that word, but we're here. Unalived and I believe that's and still unaliving dumb N-word with the hard R once again. F that white B word, you can join her. As you can see, the Department of Education in this country is failing many. Now, this one right here, sometimes I pull out my petty bag and I go there, right? I'm going to do my best to continue to strive towards Christ-like behavior. But, every now and then, I think the low pettiness is probably just and rightfully due. So this, what is it, Alan? I'm not even going to read the name. It's just there. You just like licking ass of white people. So I said, why is the first thing that comes to your mind licking ass? Why not bootlicking or pandering? Why always some alphabet stuff? It's my little pettiness right there. He said, you are dog of white people. Trash like you should be erased of this earth. I hope you died soon. Past tense. So he hops. I hop Good pancakes. IHOP, you died soon like Charlie Kirk. IHOP, you died soon like that fool of Charlie Kirk. So as you can see, we're dealing with relatively mentally compromised individuals here, right? I think if you were to calculate the two IQs of the two individuals who sent those, both IQs, you would probably come out to something in the high, I'm talking about like 2-3 digit negatives, right? The high negatives is what you would find yourself, just complete. And I don't even want to say brain dead because that's an insult to those who are actually in a vegetated state. They likely have more comprehension and for sure a greater level of conscious than those two people there. So yeah, that's the sort of messages that I've been receiving from that side, and shows you what happens when you simply say something that is an actual fact, as opposed to actually pandering to black folks on the wokety woke side of the spectrum. Now, I would love to make some time to get into the influence of white liberal institutions, right? I would love to just do a segment, so I might just do a different video. Let me know if you guys want that, because the relationship is vital, but I will just briefly touch bases with it. And hopefully I have this video still saved. Yeah, we're doing this in real time, so don't mind me. Let's see, do I still have this video here? Okay. Might have it in my text messages. Give me a second. I can't play the music in the background. It's copywritten, but I can read some of the titles of these. Now, some of y'all have already seen like the first few minutes of this because I brought this up before, but I'm going to start it a little later so you can see that it continues to get insane. All right, so here we have Townsend University presentation, and the article reads, "White people are a plague." Oh, there we go. "Dear white people, signs at college insist black people can't be racist." So who is pushing this idea that blacks cannot be racist? Of course, it is your liberal white institutions who are looking to pander, using black people as a means for, I guess, self-aggrandizement in many cases. All right, what we got next? "Dismantle whiteness, mural installed at USC." Great job, guys. Dismantle whiteness and misogyny on this campus. So whiteness is now akin to misogyny. Interesting. It's crazy how your skin color could just, end you up in a place where you are now equivalent to somebody making a conscious decision. "Your DNA is an abomination." Texas State University paper slam for racist article by author who said they hate whitey. These guys are just undefeated, ain't they? Look at that. Professor, white supremacist patriarchy responsible for Vegas mass unaliving. Educator slam for suggesting abolition of whiteness and white people. No, whiteness is not meaning white people. It just means, it means white people, but you don't understand. Oppression. Oh, Lord, I just realized my face has been on the top of these articles. I apologize, y'all. I'm trying to find a good place to just, there we go. We'll do that. Well, I'm out the way. All right, Evergreen State College student host no whites allowed event for second year in a row. So you got away with year one. 2017 and 18 were a crazy time, weren't they? Like, things have been insane. I mean, 2020, my goodness, but what is going on in 2017, 2018? What do we have here? Geology is racist and linked to white supremacy, claims university professor. So geology, folks, rocks are racist. What is this? Preston Mitchum, Georgetown law professor. All white people are racist. Yep, that's right. You heard it here, folks. Doesn't matter what you choose to be, you're just a racist. Some white people may have to have their lives taken. Georgia TA. Interesting stuff there, ain't it? It's almost as if you should actually believe these people when they tell you these things. It's almost as if they mean what they're saying. Now, again, as I've stated, this is evil. I know a lot of folks have a hard time believing in evil. And even I did. I deviated from my faith multiple times. And, the one hardest thing that I could not comprehend until this point was, how could there be a hell? How is that fair? Even the question of evil was one that was a lesser degree than that one. And now I'm at a place where I'm like, oh, I get it. There are people who are so given over to evil. There's no turning them. They're not the ones who are going to be hearing this. Those people are beyond the beyond point. And I'm not saying that anybody cannot be changed. I'm just saying whatever we do here is not going to be it. It's going to have to be their own reckoning with their creator. And I would not wish what's on the other side of this life, when you have lived in such a way, I would not wish that on anybody. I genuinely don't. I may say a lot of crazy things, but that's one thing I don't. I don't wish death on anybody. Absolutely not. And I don't wish hell on anybody. But when you start seeing how dark, how twisted, how evil and conniving some people have become, how prideful, how resentful, you've got professors echoing these messages and their students echoing them back, of eradicating an entire group of people. This is the type of stuff that would make the actual KK and the other K blush. They would be bashful in the presence of the level of racism that we're currently seeing that is targeted around or towards white people in America today and in much of the Western world today. They would be baffled. And I've gotten this nonsensical take. Well, what about the millions of black people that was and still are being, unalived by the KKs and the other K by white supremacy? And I say, where are they? And then I say, okay, if we're to go, let's say, a life for a life, then can we equate all of the white lives that have been taken at the hands of black men and black women? Because if you can't get that in a conversation, then none of it matters. Well, it's not race-based, not according to your messaging. Your messaging says that it is race-based. See, when you tell me now, I believe you. That's the difference. When you tell me who you are through how you move through life and the contents of your heart, making it up out of your mouth, I believe you now. I believe you. So in conclusion, thank you guys so much for making it all the way here. What is it that Charlie actually believed? If you guys are interested to know what the man actually believed, which again, if you are really in search for truth, then that is the number one thing in all of this. Is Charlie a racist or not? The one thing you would want to know is, what did Charlie believe about black people? Because that's usually who is pointed towards when they have this conversation, right? It's about blacks. Okay. What did he believe?
But can we both agree though?
Yeah.
That
Let me run that back. I didn't damn near blast it out your speaker. Hold up.
But can we both agree though?
Yeah.
That the less we talk about race as a country, probably better. That if we look at people as human beings first and not race.
I agree with that.
Okay, we can agree. Thank you, man. God bless you.
Y'all heard and saw that, right? I'm gonna run it back one more time. Might have to put this on a continuous loop till you unbrainwash your brainwashed friends. But
can we both agree though?
Yeah.
That the less we talk about race as a country, probably better. That if we look at people as human beings first and not race.
I agree with that.
Okay, we can agree. Thank you, man. God bless you.
this is why there have been the parallels to MLK. Because that was his message. And underlying that message was a spiritual message. That's what that man stood for right there. Now, again, I'm not delusional about the fact that we're living in very dark times. I'm not. I know that many are not only going to be misled, but are going to be so given over to this evil that many of us can't really fathom it. I mean, again, I'm still shocked in many cases. I'm not, but I am, right? Because it's like, when you've read of something to happen or somebody told you things were going to happen, there's a preparation, sure, but when it actually happens, it's a completely different quality to it. And that's where I'm at with it. Is I knew this level of, racism, et cetera, existed. This level of hatred, just call it really what it is. It's beyond color. It's actually just a vehicle for hate, vehicle for deceit. But to see it this close and in the way that it is forming, and it's not even for me, like, to truth be told, I don't know the day nor the hour, that I will leave this earth. So I don't necessarily have fear of these people who, wish me to be dead. Not anymore, at least. I've been doing this for long enough and, with enough consistency to where you've received, reckless stuff. But now I'm in a place where I'm like, okay, yeah, these people are willing and wishing these things, then they're going to have to face the consequences, at least by our law, at least at a societal level, not to take lives or anything of that nature. We're not built the same as them demons. But at the very least, there will be consequences. So if I report your nignog behind to the police, FBI, if folks on here, again, I don't want to call to anything physically harming, but if you got to do time for the way that you're moving, it is a net benefit to the society. It is. But overall, beyond that, I do believe that the legacy that this man, martyr, I do believe him to be a martyr. I know some are trying to argue it, and now they got their own denominational beliefs or whatever. Okay, cool. This is me. The man was a martyr first. As Glenn Beck says, a civil rights activist. He cared about the rights of people. All people. That people live better lives, to step out of nihilism, step out of victimhood, and to fulfill a greater life purpose. To find a wife, to have kids, to raise them up in the ways of the Lord. Real simple stuff. That's what he was fighting for at the core. And if that's something that is oppressive to you, if that is something that is offensive to you, then that's on you. That's the message you can tell them so-called friends of yours. The ones who probably aren't really your friends and were just waiting for a moment to blame you, Whitey. Yeah, them. The ones who call themselves Christians but care more about their racial identity than they do about the word of God. Them. Some folks it's past due. It's past season. There's a separation that is taking place and it is necessary. So, if you are offended by the truth, then I suggest you get over it. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace. Aquarius. Where? I've been up for hours, I've been up for days, you. Staring at the ceiling, I've been counting strays, you. I've been in my feelings, I've been out of mind. I've been getting visions of the other kind. I've been up for weeks. I'm in the count of blessings over count of sheep. I can never be the type to limit when it comes to me. I used to be the pleaser for the